My biological son, Ethan, called me Helen and said I was wild in my youth. So I posted a video online defending his cheating father, along with a recording of him and the other woman conspiring to leave me penniless. After his college entrance exam, Ethan excitedly told me he was sure to get into a top university and wanted me to fulfill my promise of taking him on a trip to Europe. "That was your dad's promise. You should go find him," I said. It was the first time I'd refused him, and the bright smile on his face immediately vanished. "Didn't Dad give you a lot of money? Do you want to keep it all for yourself?" My hands clenched the steering wheel, trying to stay calm. "Your dad only gives me 5,000 yuan a month. It's not even enough for groceries." "Who told you to buy such expensive food?" Although Ethan had long been disappointed that I'd kept things about his father a secret, my heart still ached. "It's not just the food. Beef, lamb, and seafood are all expensive. Plus, 2 out of 3 meals you demand to eat at a Japanese restaurant." "Fine, fine, don't say anything else. It's all my fault, okay?" Just like Michael, whenever Ethan realized he was wrong, he'd shout. Before, I used to explain everything thoroughly, but now I just didn't want to say anything. The silence lasted until we reached a red light. I spoke again. "I'm going to divorce your dad." "Divorce? Why?" "Your dad has someone else." "No way." "The evidence is clear, and your dad has admitted it. I only kept quiet because your college entrance exam is coming up." Ethan frowned. "Is it because Dad cheated before and you're suspecting him now?" I let out a contemptuous laugh. "So you know your dad cheated?" He realized he'd misspoke and fell silent. "But this time, I'm not letting your dad off the hook. You know he cheated, but every time your dad and I argued about it, you still sided with him." Ethan grew impatient. "What man doesn't? Besides, Dad has changed. Why are you holding on to it?" I sighed. "You've known for a long time that I'm petty about this, haven't you?" Back home, I pulled out the suitcase I'd packed the night before. "Where are you going, Mom?" He looked around our 300 square meter house. "Moving out. You probably won't come with me." Ethan clearly wasn't too bothered by the divorce. "Well, at least finish dinner before you go. I'm hungry." I smiled bitterly. "Just bear with it. Grandma Miller will be here with your aunt's whole family in about an hour to spend the summer with you." Downstairs, my sister-in-law called. "Sister-in-law, are you stuck in traffic? Why aren't you here yet?" "What? We're at the airport. Didn't you say you'd pick us up?" "I saw your message, but it only showed the flight number and time. It didn't say you wanted me to pick you up. I thought you sent it by mistake." "So you're not coming to pick us up?" My mother-in-law's scolding voice echoed through the phone. Without waiting for her to say anything more, I feigned a weak signal, mumbled a few words, and hung up. The phone rang again. I put it on silent, neither answering nor turning it off. A series of calls from my in-laws followed. I secretly rejoiced, finally free from this family's mess. Half an hour later, the phone was silent. By then, I had arrived at the lawyer's office. The lawyer looked at the evidence I had collected and confidently said, "No surprises here. Your demands will definitely be granted." I was very satisfied. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw my phone light up with a message from Michael. "I agree to the divorce, but at least wait until my family leaves. Otherwise, don't expect a single penny." I was a bit dazed. That year, I gave up a brilliant career to start a business with him. Back then, he wasn't as heartless as he is now. He once hugged me, full of gratitude, saying he would love me forever and give me all the money he earned. Fortunately, I was so utterly disappointed now that I no longer felt sad. I just replied, "Wait for the court summons." Intelligent as he was, he immediately understood what I intended to do. "How will our son look at you if you make this so tense?" Because I partnered with Michael to start the business, my son, who was still young, was sent to live with his grandmother in the countryside. I always felt guilty about him. This became Michael's excuse to control me, but unfortunately, it no longer worked. Apart from this child, I didn't want to keep anything else. A year ago, I accidentally discovered that my son was close to the other woman, often helping Michael and her hide their affair. In a message, he even told her, "I wish you were my mother." At that moment, I felt like I'd been struck by lightning. I wanted to run and confront him. Just then, my mother-in-law called again with her usual complaints. I suddenly sobered up. I gave birth to this child, but he wasn't truly mine. Under my mother-in-law's long-term brainwashing, Ethan's dissatisfaction with me had taken deep root. He didn't like me. He even hated me. I used to think that educating my child was my way of controlling him, but the good things I did for him turned out to be just using Michael's money to win him over. When I woke up, the sun was high. My WeChat was full of messages. Ethan couldn't find his things, Michael didn't know how to use the household appliances, and my sister-in-law wanted to take her kids out and messaged me to prepare an itinerary. I glanced at them but didn't reply to any messages because I still had to deal with the lawsuit. I tolerated them for now, not blocking them yet. I exited WeChat and opened my SMS messages. Amidst a barrage of complaints and curses from my in-laws, there was a message from an unknown number. The sender had sent a screenshot from a social media platform. An account named Ungrateful Child had posted a picture of me in a swimsuit when I was young. It was a very ordinary swimsuit, but the caption read, "Old witch dressed provocatively in her youth." My head felt like it would explode, completely blank. Just by looking at the distinctive punctuation, I easily recognized that Ungrateful Child was Ethan. He had always been disrespectful, but I hadn't expected to underestimate his malice. I clutched my chest, trying to read the comments. Someone asked who was in the picture. Ungrateful Child replied, "My mom. She has lots of pictures like that. She was wild in her youth, only became well-behaved after meeting my dad. So your dad must be rich, right?" I felt a chill run down my spine. This was the child I had nearly died giving birth to. Apart from leaving him with his grandmother until he was 5 or 6 years old due to the need to earn money, I truly felt I had done nothing wrong. In the early years of our startup, despite being swamped, I still made a 10-hour round trip every week to visit him. I video called him every day, and even with a 40-degree fever, I made an effort to talk to him so he could sleep well. When he came to live with me, I tried my best to make up for any emotional shortcomings, but what was the result? He didn't remember any of those good deeds. He treated me with contempt, called me an old witch, and even slandered me online as a promiscuous woman. Based on the account information, I quickly found Ethan's personal page. Though mentally prepared, hundreds, even thousands of posts criticizing me still made me unbearable. This account had been created 9 years ago when Ethan was almost 10. At first, it was just simple complaints. Grandpa gave me a small knife, but Mom confiscated it. So sad. Why can I only play games for 2 hours? Mom is so annoying. 6 months later, his tone suddenly became full of hatred. Look at the old witch buying shoes to fawn over me. Picture of the old witch bowing to Grandma Miller to get money from my dad. Why hasn't the old witch died yet? Whenever his tone was normal, it was related to someone named Sister Sophia. I felt like I had fallen into an ice pit. The person he called Sister Sophia was Sophia, Michael's first love and the one who ruined our marriage. Before, I thought Michael and Sophia only started seeing each other after her divorce. But looking back now, it turned out that before her divorce, she and Michael had been secretly seeing each other, and the sabotage of my relationship with my son also started very early. Scrolling through old posts, I discovered an even more desperate truth. 8 years ago, I took Ethan on a trip with my in-laws and sister-in-law's family. Under his grandmother's indulgence, he climbed onto the concrete railing on the cliff edge and danced. While I was busy changing my sister-in-law's daughter's diaper, he slipped and fell amidst everyone's terrified screams. Without thinking, I lunged over the railing, grabbed his backpack, and pulled him up. At that moment, my mind was completely blank. When I regained my senses, I found one of my feet had slipped off the railing, and half my body was dangling. If my knee hadn't hooked onto a piece of wood, I would have been dragged into the abyss. The next day, Ethan was unusually well-behaved, rarely arguing with me. I thought I had finally touched his heart, but in his diary, he wrote, "Sister Sophia said the old witch will definitely use this incident to send Grandma Miller back to the countryside, so I must endure and pretend to be obedient." Ethan didn't know that when Michael and I first discussed divorce, the third party was Sophia. His helping his father hide the affair, and even facilitating Michael and Sophia's relationship, I could overlook and blame on his foolishness. But the fact that I risked my life to save him, and he showed not an ounce of gratitude, that I could not accept. Because this was the only motivation that helped me endure this painful marriage. Perhaps because my tears had dried up, even though I felt extreme pain, I couldn't cry. I just silently took screenshots, saved them, and sent everything to my lawyer. Not long after, the lawyer called. Helen, based on this evidence, we will investigate further. The lawyer told me, your husband's financial flow can still be traced. We will help investigate if you can provide a few more clues. Also, if you want to sue your son, we can assist with that too. The lawyer's tone was very professional, like an emotionless machine, but I understood he truly couldn't stand what Ethan had done. I hesitated for a moment and then said, no, let it go. If I hadn't heartlessly sent him back to the countryside, maybe he wouldn't have become like this. After all, I am also responsible. I hung up and opened the chat with Ethan, texting him, sorry, Mom slept all day and just woke up. What you're looking for is in the right drawer in the storage room. In less than a moment, I received a reproachful message from him. If you're going to divorce Dad, why did you let Auntie and Uncle come here? My cousin made a racket all night and I couldn't sleep. I replied, sorry, Mom will come back to sort things out for you. Because Michael had cheated earlier than I thought, I needed to go back to find more evidence. Ethan thought I had regretted it, and his words were full of sarcasm. No one cared about Mom all day, now you come looking for some face? I no longer cared how he perceived me, so I didn't bother to explain. When I arrived home, my in-laws, my sister-in-law, her whole family, Michael and Ethan were all there. No one paid attention to me, and I didn't pay attention to them. I went straight into my son's room and closed the door. Ethan often appeared with expensive items. Every time I asked, he said Michael bought them for him. I felt his spending habits were wrong and had talked to Michael a few times. He just vaguely admitted it after some confusion. Before, I thought Michael was busy and forgot, but after reading Ethan's posts, I realized all those items were bought by Sophia. Based on her personal financial situation, she clearly couldn't afford those things. They must have come from Michael and my joint assets. I took pictures of each item, especially the limited edition ones. A moment later, Ethan reluctantly walked into the room, opening his mouth with an unwilling expression. You don't need to tidy my things, Mom, just go. I sat on the floor, holding the scarf I had knitted for him, and looked up to ask, this I knitted for you. Do you still want it? One of Ethan's wealthy friends once had a custom-made cashmere scarf that he really liked, but it was an exclusive member item and couldn't be bought. To please him, I found a knitting teacher and knitted one for him myself. Ethan loved it and wore it almost every winter, but never admitted it, always complaining. Mom, just throw it away quickly. I nodded, picked up his iPad, and walked straight out. The iPad was synchronized with Ethan's phone, through which I could see how Sophia had played the role of a confidant and how she had agitated the relationship between my son and me. But time was too short, so I took it with me. By the time I reached the living room, the whole family was sitting watching TV, laughing and chatting as if I didn't exist. This kind of Cold War used to make me sad, but now I just found it amusing. I said nothing, quietly walked around the sofa to the door. My mother-in-law couldn't stand the silence and asked coldly, you just got back, where are you going again? My sister-in-law interjected, my brother works hard to earn money, don't always cause trouble, sister-in-law. My father-in-law added, even if you don't think about Michael, you should think about Ethan. If this family breaks up, what will happen to the children? When he gets married later, who would want to marry him if they heard his parents divorced? I shrugged and gave a faint smile. Don't worry, Michael has already found a replacement. Michael immediately yelled furiously, don't talk nonsense. Ethan quickly sided with his father. Mom, don't make things up. Dad and Sister Sophia are just good friends. As soon as he finished speaking, my mother-in-law shrieked, Sister Sophia? Sophia? My father-in-law and sister-in-law also looked startled. Ethan didn't realize the changing atmosphere and nodded to confirm. Yes. My mother-in-law's face turned pale. She looked at Michael in disbelief. Michael didn't dare to look back at her, only glared at me furiously. I just curled my lips, replying with my eyes, what does this have to do with me? Before, because Michael was poor, Sophia left him. Just this alone, my in-laws could not accept her, not to mention she was divorced and had 2 children from a previous marriage. But Michael loved her deeply, not caring about those things. However, he was still a filial son and didn't want to upset his parents, so he kept everything quiet. Ethan, with an innocent expression, continued, Mom wants to divorce Dad just because of Sister Sophia. Mom, you are really petty. He intended to use these words to criticize me, but he accidentally enraged my mother-in-law. She rushed to Michael and slapped him hard across the face. How could you be so foolish? What is that woman after you for? Don't you know yourself? Ethan immediately screamed, No one is allowed to speak ill of my dad or the pure friendship between Sophia and him. I held my mother-in-law's arm to stop her from causing more trouble. In her anger, she didn't see who it was and kicked out. Ethan had never been hit from childhood, but this time, being kicked by his grandmother, he reflexively dodged, causing his grandmother to cry out in pain and fall to the ground. The atmosphere immediately froze for a moment, then quickly turned chaotic. My sister-in-law ran to help her mother up. Michael tried to hit Ethan but was stopped by his own father. As for me, I completely stayed out of it, calmly leaving. In the car, I opened the iPad and started taking pictures and recording videos. Ethan would soon realize the iPad was gone, but because my sister-in-law had a habit of accidentally taking things, he might not think of me. Anyway, he didn't care and would probably use this opportunity to demand a new model. However, he would definitely log out of his WeChat account, so I had to quickly collect evidence. This iPad was bought 2 years ago, and the chat history with Sophia was completely intact. I started reading from the beginning. As I read the messages and listened to the recordings between Sophia and Ethan, I discovered something disgusting. Sophia made Ethan call her Sister Sophia and told her daughter to call Ethan Brother Ethan. While being Michael's mistress, she also deliberately instigated her daughter to sabotage the relationship between Ethan and his girlfriend. This plan seemed to have worked, as I saw Ethan and his girlfriend arguing on WeChat. Their relationship was almost at an impasse. I guessed who had sent me the screenshot. At this moment, the iPad screen flashed. Ethan sent a voice message to Sophia, "Mom is furious with me. My dad hit me." Immediately after, Sophia replied, but it was her daughter's voice. "Brother Ethan, are you hurt? Do you need me to go to the hospital with you?" "No need, where's your mom?" Ethan's voice suddenly softened. "I have something I need to find Mom for." "What is it, Ethan?" His voice turned resentful again, grinding his teeth. "That old witch dared to slander my mom, saying she has an improper relationship with my dad. Now that my grandma believes it, what should I do?" Sophia was silent for a few minutes, then replied, "See, didn't I tell you?" A series of long messages from her followed. Turned out that Sophia herself had incited Ethan to slander me. She told him that I was a jealous person who couldn't maintain a long-term marriage with Michael. But if we divorced, I would take half of the assets Michael had worked hard to earn, reducing Ethan's inheritance. Therefore, they had to act first. As expected, I was now skilled at divorce and had even accused Michael of infidelity, certainly wanting him to leave empty-handed. Ethan completely trusted Sophia and asked her what to do. Sophia told him to continue posting my suggestive photos online. When the matter spread, someone familiar with me might recognize me and expose my past. By then, Michael would have evidence to make me leave empty-handed. I was no stranger to Sophia's tactics and quickly guessed what she wanted to do. After saving all the evidence, I casually threw the iPad into the trash. What Sophia had done had crossed all my limits. I had to make her pay. I sent the new evidence to my lawyer and asked, "I want to sue my son, but I don't want him to have a criminal record. Is that possible?" The lawyer replied immediately, "Yes, if it's only an administrative penalty, it won't be recorded in his personal file." Good, I want to sue. This would be the last thing I did for Ethan as a mother. People only wake up when they hit rock bottom. That evening, I opened the Ungrateful Child personal page and saw Ethan had posted a few more photos. They were pictures of me in an evening gown at a party with the caption, "These photos are even more provocative. Looking at the luxurious background, that person must be very rich." In the comments section, someone said, "My uncle once saw your mother at the Imperial City Club." Below that, the group commented excitedly, "No way, is she really selling herself?" "Does the content match your rich dad?" Another person said, "I once saw her at the Imperial City Club." I quietly took screenshots and immediately instructed my lawyer to file a lawsuit. Since I didn't know the real identities of the commenters, I would sue the website first to force them to provide personal information. I was sure the person who said they saw me at Imperial City was Sophia. In fact, I used to work as a waitress at that club just to get contact information for a big client. Michael knew about this, and he was the one who asked me to do it. The reason Sophia knew was that when I was working late at the club, she and Michael were sleeping in my bed. If a difficult client hadn't slapped me, causing me to feel wronged and go home, perhaps I wouldn't have discovered their disgusting affair. The next day, my sister-in-law called, saying my mother-in-law was in the hospital and asking me to visit. I didn't refuse. My mother-in-law, who had always been dissatisfied with me, showed enthusiasm for the first time. She held my hand and said, "Helen, yesterday I disciplined Michael. You're at home raising the children, and he's working alone under too much pressure." I sighed and interrupted my mother-in-law. "Mom, Michael and I are beyond saving. Little Ethan already considers Sophia his mother. Michael has also given Sophia complete control of his finances." My mother-in-law, as if suffering from a severe sore throat, suddenly sat up, her voice full of vigor. "What did you say? Michael gave her control of his money?" I nodded. "I just came to remind you to keep an eye on Michael. Don't let her trick him out of all his money." My mother-in-law couldn't believe it, repeating, "No way, no way. If you don't believe me, go check. I'm sure he doesn't have much money left in his name." Leaving my furious mother-in-law's house, I handed my sister-in-law 500 yuan. "Daisy, don't be angry with me anymore. Take this money and treat the kids to something nice." My sister-in-law's face was cold and she said nothing, but still put the money in her pocket. I continued, "It's just a pity your brother doesn't give me much each month. This is all I have. Otherwise, I would have given you more." "Don't pretend, sister-in-law. Isn't all my brother's money with you?" My sister-in-law was like a bottomless pit. Michael didn't dare to give her too much, but he also didn't want to get a bad reputation, so I often had to take the blame. Now it was time to bring the truth to light. I feigned surprise. "Who told you that? Your brother only gives me 5,000 yuan a month. If you don't believe me, just ask Ethan." "I don't believe it. My brother earns so much and only gives you 5,000 yuan a month. Who would believe that?" Before, I also didn't see anything wrong with this. I thought I held 51% of the company's shares, so there was nothing to worry about. But later, I discovered that Michael had drained money from our joint company, used Sophia's name to open a new company, and transferred all assets there. However, I didn't intend to tell my sister-in-law these things. I wanted her to find out for herself. After meeting with Daisy, I messaged Sarah, "Let's meet once." Indeed, at the agreed location, I met Ethan's girlfriend, Sarah. Ethan, like his father, had a charming, handsome, and gentle face, making him very popular with girls. Sarah, like me before, was deceived by his appearance and met with betrayal. Fortunately, this girl, though newly adult, was very sharp. I got straight to the point. "Help me, and I'll pay you." The girl knew that she and Ethan no longer had a chance and replied decisively, "Okay, how can I help?" "For now, don't break up with Ethan. Help me keep an eye on the Miller family and report anything unusual to me." I then pulled out 10,000 yuan. "Take this money first. When I receive the asset division money, I'll give you another 50,000 yuan." Sarah came from a well-to-do family and wasn't short on money, but I didn't know how to thank her otherwise. "You don't have to do that, Auntie. I'm helping you not for money, but because I can't swallow this anger." Actually, I wasn't short on money. From the first time I discovered Michael's infidelity 5 years ago, I started saving. 80% of the company's revenue was brought in by me. After becoming a housewife, I still kept in touch with old clients. Initially, I did it to maintain cooperative relationships, but then it became my way of earning money. I disclosed internal information to clients, helping them secure deals at the lowest prices and receiving commissions. Each year, I earned at least 1,000,000 yuan. Over the past few years, I had accumulated a considerable amount. In addition, I also secretly weakened Sophia's company, introducing her partners to other companies and benefiting greatly from it. Currently, Sophia's company, under my interference, had begun to decline. Her available assets were probably not even equal to the money I had in the bank. This was why I had once not wanted to be too confrontational with Michael, but now I wanted to end everything completely. That evening, Michael called, questioning me. "What did you say to my mother and Daisy?" "Just told them the truth, that you only give me 5,000 yuan a month. So what?" Michael was speechless but still didn't give up. "You must have said something else. Otherwise, why would they tell me to go ask Sophia for money?" "Well, I don't know. Or is it because you keep telling them the money is with me and they suspected you gave it to Sophia?" Michael was silent again. "Anyway, I'm warning you, don't spread rumors." "I'm only telling the truth. Oh, and you should ask if Sophia has been spreading rumors to anyone." Michael interrupted me. "Sophia isn't that kind of person." His naivety made me laugh. "Not that kind of person? Not the kind who doesn't slander your family, but dares to send me your bed photos." "What did you say? Impossible." Sophia had never actually sent me those disgusting things. I just wanted to learn her way of fabricating stories. Perhaps their love was still deep now, and Michael didn't care. But when his business declined and he no longer had enough money to enjoy life, Michael would definitely blame Sophia for ruining his life. A few days later, Sarah reported that my mother-in-law was standing on the rooftop, threatening to commit suicide to force Michael to get the money back from Sophia, causing the police and firefighters to intervene. Because the company couldn't be neglected, Michael couldn't stay home all day. He used his pocket money to force Ethan to take care of his grandmother. Ethan, due to conflicts with Sophia and his grandparents, but regretting the loss of pocket money, reluctantly asked Sarah to help appease his grandmother, promising not to break up with her. Sarah happily agreed and incidentally helped me keep an eye on the Miller family. To reassure his mother, Michael reluctantly transferred his assets back into his name. Immediately after, I informed my lawyer, and the lawyer quickly filed a request to freeze Michael's accounts. At this point, Michael could no longer transfer money out. When Ethan found out, he called to warn me, "Mom, do you really have to be this extreme? Be careful, you might bring trouble upon yourself." I continued to monitor his ungrateful child account. He continuously slandered me, his biological mother, while Sophia incessantly defamed me. Under the orchestration of the two of them, I had become a promiscuous woman whom anyone could sleep with on social media. However, the online community began to notice something unusual. From criticizing me, they now turned to say, "This child is truly skilled." Someone even commented, "It's clear this isn't your mother, but your enemy. How many fake accounts have you used to slander your mother?" But Ethan completely failed to recognize his mistakes and even deleted such comments. I knew he was beyond saving, but still couldn't help but tell the truth. "The company was founded by your father and me. Many clients were brought in by me. Even if I was just an employee, your father shouldn't treat me like this." Ethan coldly replied, "You're lying, Mom. That company went bankrupt a long time ago. What my dad earns now has nothing to do with you." I closed my eyes and sighed. "Half of that asset is mine. Even if I let your father leave empty-handed, I have every right to do so." Ethan immediately hung up. Afterward, he posted on WeChat. The content of the post included excerpts from our mother-son messages, but the abusive language calling me an old witch was changed to fake affectionate phrases about deep mother-son love. The caption read, "My mother has deeply disappointed me." This was the first time Ethan mentioned me on his moments, but it was in such a sarcastic way. Not only that, he sent me a message. "Mom, did you see that post? Right now, only you can see it. If you make my dad leave empty-handed, I'll make this post public." I truly couldn't believe I had given birth to such a child. I replied, "Go ahead and make it public." My divorce with Michael, thanks to sufficient evidence, was almost certainly not going to change. Now it was time to deal with this terrible and foolish son. Unexpectedly, Ethan's side went silent, but Sophia called me. Based on the limited edition items in Ethan's room, my lawyer had easily traced the pair to Sophia. Since she had no legitimate source of income, she was forced to admit that the money was given by Michael. Thanks to this, my lawyer recovered many assets, including the house Michael bought as a dowry for his son and even the BMW he bought for Sophia's daughter. Sophia must have hated me deeply because the provocative tone she used before had vanished. Instead, her voice was furious. "Helen, forgive others and you will be forgiven. Even a cornered rabbit will bite." I was used to her shamelessness and replied indifferently, "What did I do to you? I just asked Michael to legally divide our joint assets. What does that have to do with you?" Sophia let out a bitter laugh. "Don't play dumb. If you still care about your son, don't go too far." "What do you mean?" "HMPH, Ethan showed you those pictures, didn't he? So she intended to put on a show with Ethan." I sneered. "If he wants to make them public, let him. They're all fake anyway." Unexpectedly, Sophia burst into laughter. "You're so selfish. Aren't you thinking about Ethan? If netizens know he slandered his own mother, how will people look at him?" I couldn't help but laugh. Before, I felt sorry for myself, but now I felt my son was even more pathetic. His girlfriend betrayed him, and the sister Sophia he trusted wanted to defame him. "What are you laughing at?" Sophia's voice, which had been confident, now showed a hint of hesitation. I warned coldly, "If Ethan is attacked by netizens, I will definitely let them know who instigated him." Sophia's voice suddenly panicked. "What nonsense are you talking about? What does this have to do with me?" If it's not related, then fine, but I've recorded the part where you threatened to attack Ethan. The other end of the line immediately went silent, then Sophia hung up. I looked at the dark screen and threw my phone onto the sofa. Immediately after Michael, that weakling, called. I didn't answer. He then sent a message, "If you have an issue, take it out on me. Sophia is innocent." I was too used to his favoritism towards Sophia, I felt nothing anymore. I replied, "Then obediently give me the money." It was unclear what Sophia had said to Michael, but it helped accelerate the asset division process. In the afternoon, Michael met me and transferred all the assets I requested, along with the money recovered from Sophia, all converted into cash. The condition was that both parties had to notarize a commitment that there would be no further financial disputes, and even if anything was discovered later, no lawsuits could be filed. I wished Michael was always this sensible. After the money was in my account, Michael's eyes were full of resentment. "Sophia hasn't had it easy all these years. She did everything just because she loves me." I nodded. "I understand your love, it moves heaven and earth, so I'll gracefully retreat." Holding the money, I called Sarah and invited her to dinner, but she refused. "Another time, Auntie, I can't eat right now. I just finished Ethan and Sophia's daughter's engagement party." I was stunned. Ethan's life had spiraled downhill miserably. His mood was low, and he only knew how to drown his sorrows in alcohol. Then Ethan slept with Sophia's daughter. To reassure Sophia, Michael arranged for the two to get engaged, waiting until they reached legal age to marry. Ethan and Sophia's daughter had truly only slept together, in the literal sense. Nothing happened. But he didn't expect to be tied for life to a girl who only wanted to fool around. Michael used his pocket money to coerce him, leaving him with no other choice. Sophia, using the excuse of wanting to ensure her daughter's future, asked Michael to transfer all the money in his account to her. When my mother-in-law found out, she went to the hospital again to get admitted, using that as leverage against Michael. But this time, Michael didn't even visit her. My sister-in-law then went to the company to cause a scene, but was driven out by security. At this point, Sophia had become the CEO and stepped forward to declare, "I am not like your weak and pathetic sister-in-law. I will protect Michael and not let these leeches bully him." I heard Michael was so moved that he hugged her tightly in front of everyone and gave her a passionate kiss. Sarah recounted this with a sarcastic tone, eventually bursting into laughter, but I couldn't laugh. After all, that was my son. I just wanted him to learn from this lesson and live a better life in the future. But now, before even entering university, he had to bear a forced marriage. I messaged Ethan, asking if it was true he was engaged to Sophia's daughter. I thought maybe I wouldn't sue Sophia anymore. In exchange for the evidence I had, I would get my son his freedom. But before I could say it, he called, scolding me profusely. "Mom, you've pushed me to this point. Are you satisfied now?" My fragile guilt for my son completely vanished amidst his string of insults. I calmly replied, "Ethan, I didn't force you to consider Sophia your mother, nor did I force you to drink with her daughter." He yelled furiously, "If you hadn't demanded a divorce from Dad, how could things have turned out this way?" I said nothing more, just quietly hung up. It really is impossible to be soft-hearted with men, even your own son. A moment later, Ethan messaged again, saying I was responsible for his predicament, that I couldn't abandon him. He demanded half of the money I received from Michael. Otherwise, he would make the Moments post that only I could see before public. I replied, "Go ahead." I had initially planned to wait for things to settle down before suing him, but if he pushed me, he shouldn't blame me for being merciless. Less than 10 minutes later, my phone rang nonstop. The first message was from Michael, his tone questioning, "Helen, what is this all about?" Clearly, he was the one who told me to go to the Imperial City Club, and now he was asking me. I didn't bother to explain, just sent a notarized photo of the assets and blocked his number. Other messages from friends and mutual partners all advised me to check Moments. They also expressed their support for me. My eyes welled up. Although my marriage failed, my life was not a failure. I thanked each person, then opened the chat with Ethan and replied, "Wait for the court summons." Then I blocked him too. Not long after, Sarah messaged to check on me. It was then that I learned that after I blocked him, Ethan had gone berserk on Moments, cursing me terribly. Fortunately, Michael, knowing how to save face, confiscated his phone, deleted the post, and explained that Ethan's phone had been stolen but was recovered. Ethan, knowing I had decided to sue him, used the company's finance department phone to message me. The tiger doesn't eat its cubs. Luckily, we're divorced. Now let Sophia be his mother. Michael always compared me to Sophia, always thinking I would change to win him back out of jealousy. I had indeed maintained this marriage for Ethan, but what right did he have to think that even after divorce, he could still use that to control me? The finance manager was an older woman whom I respected greatly. Michael using her phone to message me probably wanted her to advise me to compromise, but this time, the woman who usually told me to be patient for my child said nothing. My lawyer worked very efficiently. Ethan was ordered by the court to issue a public apology in newspapers, on Moments, and other social media platforms. Still, he remained unconvinced, going around saying that if his mother truly did nothing wrong, why would people comment that they had seen her there? Sophia supported him wholeheartedly. The two became closer than ever. She even took Ethan and her daughter on a trip to Europe, a true bond between mother and child. I learned all this from the finance manager. She was very angry. All the old employees knew what kind of person I was. How could the rumors be true? But that father-son pair and Sophia acted too well, and new employees began to believe the slander. I felt nothing. I guessed Ethan wouldn't be convinced, and I also guessed Sophia would take the opportunity to slander me. Therefore, I had prepared videos and screenshot evidence, posting them all on Moments. Ethan was truly beyond saving. I couldn't bother with him anymore. Along with videos of him defending his cheating father, I let everyone see the truth. Along with a recording of Michael and Sophia discussing how to leave me penniless, I posted it on Moments with a long text expressing my helplessness and heartbreak at having to sue my own son. As soon as the post was live, my entire circle of friends was shocked. The comments were so numerous I couldn't read them all. Everyone supported me. I hadn't blocked Sophia, so Michael quickly found out. He again used the finance manager's phone to call me, his voice so angry it was distorted. "Helen, are you crazy? You don't care about your reputation, but my son and I still do." I laughed contemptuously. "When you let your son and Sophia slander my reputation, why didn't you ask if they cared about theirs?" "Ethan has apologized. What more do you want?" "Michael, you know very well I'm not talking about that." "I don't care what you say. I'm just asking if you want to force your own son to his death." Don't use our son as an excuse. You're calling just because of your company, right?" My WeChat was connected to many partners and old employees of the company. After the post was shared, quite a few people messaged me, either announcing the termination of their cooperation with Michael or saying they planned to resign. They said, with such a boss and madam, who could guarantee they wouldn't be dragged into the mud one day, I had touched Michael's raw nerve. He was silent for a while, then suddenly changed his tone, starting to play the emotional card. "Helen, this company holds so much of your hard work. You don't want it to collapse, do you?" "The company isn't mine, it's yours and Sophia's, right?" Michael was stunned. "So you're angry about that. All right, today I'll have someone change the legal documents, transfer the legal entity name to yours, and the share agreement will also be revised. You keep 51%, okay?" Even at this point, Michael still thought I was a fool, easy to deceive. He thought that by conceding a little, I would overlook everything. Seeing I didn't speak but also didn't hang up, Michael thought he had won me over. He continued with a feigned, kind demeanor. "Actually, I never thought of divorcing you. You were the one who suggested it, weren't you? Besides that time 5 years ago, Sophia and I had nothing. Later, I only met her because she was divorced, and her family was afraid she'd do something foolish, so they asked me to counsel her. I only agreed to divorce because you didn't trust me." I was so angry at the time, so I agreed. "Hello, Helen, are you still listening?" I coldly hung up. Immediately after, I received a message from my sister-in-law. "Sister-in-law, I never knew you suffered so much. On behalf of my brother, I apologize to you. Are you free to have dinner with me? He cut off our family allowance and said he'd only give us money when Mom agrees to him marrying Sophia. I'm so mad." I didn't reply. I exited and saw a message from Sophia. "You're good, but what's the point of posting these things besides making yourself look like a joke?" "Michael loves me and your son sees me as his real mother," I replied. "If my son truly sees you as his real mother, then where did the recording in my Moments post come from?" It took a long time for Sophia to message back. "Impossible. Ethan couldn't have sent it to you. You must have secretly recorded it yourself." "Why couldn't he? I told him you were using him to threaten me, so he sent it to me." After sending the message, I immediately blocked Sophia. They were all terrible people. Let them suspect each other. Not long after, Sarah messaged, saying Ethan had contacted her again, saying Sophia seemed to have changed and was always wary of him. He was starting to suspect that Sophia didn't genuinely like him, but only wanted to target his family's assets. My foolish son still didn't know the true relationship between Sophia and Michael. From the beginning, Sophia approached him only to better control Michael's assets. Sarah asked if I wanted her to find out more. I said no need to interact with them too much, it's just nauseating. Unexpectedly, the girl said, no, it's good to see them get their comeuppance up close. Even though she was just a young girl, she still harbored resentment in her heart. I replied, if you don't mind, keep in touch with Ethan. It's nice to watch the drama up close, and there's a lot more to see. Michael finally chose to live with his first love, the one he considered his lifelong moonbeam. At the same time, the conflict between Ethan and Sophia grew, leading to an unprecedented clash between Ethan and the father he had always admired since childhood. He shamelessly asked his grandparents for support, but my mother-in-law, accustomed to lavish spending, couldn't endure when Michael stopped her allowance for a month. She finally agreed to Michael and Sophia's marriage, much to Ethan's astonishment. The two registered their marriage and held a grand wedding, but according to Sarah, the wedding initially booked 20 tables but was eventually reduced to 10 because many people cited reasons for not being able to attend. On the wedding day, only 5 tables remained, mostly Sophia's relatives. Michael was furious. The deposit was not refunded. Even though it was only 25,000 yuan, at a time when partners were leaving one by one, this amount was not small for him. Ethan, comforted by Sarah, reluctantly attended, but unexpectedly, Sophia's family members had heard something. Finally, Ethan was sued by his biological mother. Everyone's gaze at him was strange. He only sat for a while, then secretly left. He ran to find Sarah to go for a walk, but was followed and caught by Sophia's daughter and son. Sarah recounted that right in front of everyone. She slapped Ethan and asked, "Didn't you say you broke up with Sophia's daughter?" Then she ran off. Ethan was confused, held back by the other two, and was beaten again in front of everyone. Sarah laughed heartily at this point, but then stopped, carefully asking me over the phone, "Auntie, don't you think this is too much? After all, it's your son who got beaten." I replied with 3 words, "He deserved it." Michael and Sophia were married and completely bound to each other. I began proceedings to sue Sophia for defamation and slander. Before that, I unblocked Ethan and sent him evidence of Sophia using him to threaten me. I asked, "I'm going to sue her. Do you want to join me?" Ethan immediately replied, "Yes, I want to make that witch pay." I arranged to meet Ethan, took him to a Michelin restaurant, and bought him several new outfits. He was so touched that when he returned home, he emotionally said, "Mom, you're so good to me." I ignored his eyes, which gleamed with hope of returning to live with me, just smiled faintly and warned him to be careful. Ethan eagerly showed his loyalty. That very night, he posted the evidence I sent on Moments, along with a long post criticizing his blind father, the cunning Sophia, and bloodsuckers like his grandparents and aunt and uncle. As a result, he was kicked out of the house by Michael, or perhaps he deliberately left. Either way, he called me for help. At that time, it was only a week until his university enrollment date. I generously let him stay, gave him a credit card, and told him to spend wisely. But Ethan, after a period of hardship, now had money again, so how could he save? He invited friends to eat and drink, bought a limited edition set of 3 university supplies, and even sneakers. In just a few days, he spent over 100,000 yuan of my money. Ethan quickly returned to the life of a rich young master, trying to curry favor with me every day. In Sophia's lawsuit, he voluntarily offered to testify, seriously telling the judge that he had been forced to slander me since childhood. Sophia, like me, was not present at the trial but authorized her lawyer, while Michael attended. The evidence presented by my lawyer, coupled with Ethan's testimony, broke Michael down, but he refused to accept the truth, even yelling at the judge that Ethan was lying. He even slandered his own biological mother. What wouldn't he dare to do? Ethan was furious. The father and son lunged at each other, fighting, and were ultimately expelled from the court. The outcome was that I won the lawsuit. I received a public apology in the media and social media, along with 250,000 yuan in emotional damages. I told Ethan that when the compensation was transferred, I would give it all to him. He was overjoyed. That night, he posted another long article, continuing to criticize his father, stepmother, and the Miller family. On the day I took Ethan to university, I treated him to his favorite Japanese food before we parted ways. Then I gave him a bank card. Thank you, Mom. Ethan took the card with a rare, obedient smile. Don't thank me yet. I took out a notebook. These are the expenses I've incurred for you recently, totaling 193,880 yuan. Check if there are any issues. Ethan looked at me in surprise. Mom, what is this? Didn't you say Sophia's compensation would all be for me? After deducting this amount, there's still over 50,000 yuan. I rounded it up to 60,000 yuan. It's all in this card. From now on, you're on your own. What do you mean, Mom? In Ethan's eyes, a naive, foolish look flickered. I replied, initially, I didn't intend to claim emotional damages from Sophia, but because you voluntarily testified in court to thank you, I asked for an additional 250,000 yuan. After all, she also bears some responsibility for making you so foolish. It took him a long time to understand my words, and his expression gradually turned ugly. So, you didn't really forgive me, Mom. You were just using me. 1. I will never forgive you. I asked you if you wanted to sue Sophia with me. You said yes, and you received 250,000 yuan and several gifts. If you think I used you, then yes, I did. I argued with Dad for you and testified in court, and you're treating me like this. That was your choice, son. I didn't force you. Ethan understood my tactics, knowing that if he caused trouble, even this 60,000 yuan might be lost. He tried to reason, but you didn't tell me that the money you spent would be deducted from my share. You told me to save. Ethan angrily turned and left. Good, very good. I thought you genuinely treated me well. I interrupted him. If you hadn't treated me like an ATM, maybe if I had treated you more genuinely, you wouldn't be like this. I'm your biological son, Mom. Ethan said something that made me laugh. When you slandered me online, why didn't you remember you were my biological son? He fumbled. I know I was wrong. I apologized, Mom. Now I've become a laughingstock. What else do you want me to do? Each of his words grew louder to the point where the restaurant staff noticed. They worried Ethan might hit me, so they called a tall chef to stand between us. I thanked them, then stood up, paid, and left. Before walking out the door, I turned back and told Ethan, the password is Mom's birthday. After playing such a prank on my own son, my heart felt incredibly light. I wanted to share this with someone, so I messaged Sarah. We're so alike. Sarah excitedly called immediately. Auntie, tell me the details, especially Ethan's expression then. Her youthfulness and cheerful voice quickly lifted my heavy mood. I smiled. Wait for me to find a seat, and I'll tell you from beginning to end. I recounted the story of my revenge on my son with such vividness that Sarah sometimes regretted that I had spent money on him, and other times laughed loudly, praising me for doing the right thing. Ethan posted so many attacking posts about his parents. Now, even if he wants to reconcile with his dad, it's probably impossible. Auntie, did you know? My dad heard the court would enforce Sophia's assets and then discovered Michael's account was empty. I was slightly surprised. How could that be? Michael's personal account always had at least a few million to keep the company running. Sarah explained, it seems Sophia's son is getting married soon, but his father still hasn't bought them a house, so Sophia took the money from the account on her own. I couldn't help but feel sorry for Michael for 2 seconds. His company was already struggling because of my sabotage, and with this new blow, it probably wouldn't last long. Sarah continued, my dad heard the company just lost a big contract because of insufficient working capital. Karma comes fast. I was curious. How does your dad know so much? Is he acquainted with Michael? No, but my dad deliberately found out to tell you, Auntie. He said you were treated so badly, you would definitely want to see them get their comeuppance. I laughed and told Sarah to thank her father for me. The girl said, you don't have to thank me, Auntie, but when you come back, please invite my dad to dinner too. I couldn't refuse. All right, when I come back, I'll invite your whole family. Sarah said, Auntie, I don't have a mother. I told you to invite my dad to dinner because I want you two to get to know each other. My dad likes you. I immediately understood what the girl meant. Sarah, I don't want to get married again. I'm doing very well alone. But you don't have to get married, just love. My dad has liked you since he saw you two on the street. My dad also said that although a teacher's salary isn't high, our family has many apartments from rental compensation, and my dad will give them all to you. I was flustered, not knowing how to reply, secretly regretting calling her. And also, my dad exercises regularly. He even has an 8-pack. I was surprised. Sarah was talking about her father, a man I had met. He was almost 1.9 meters tall, with sun-kissed skin, a look completely opposite to Michael. Although I wasn't easily charmed by appearances, who wouldn't like a handsome man with a fit physique? Seeing my silence, Sarah quickly concluded, "So, it's decided, we'll have dinner this weekend." I hesitated for a moment, then agreed. "Okay, but just a simple meal." "Yes, I understand." While waiting for my flight, Michael's company's finance manager messaged me. I resigned. Sophia drained all of Michael's money. The two of them argue all day, and the company is in chaos. She recounted that during one argument, Sophia said, "If it weren't for the money, I wouldn't even look at an idiot like you." Michael was so angry he slapped her. Just then, Sophia's son arrived. He rushed in and beat Michael half to death. Finally, the police had to intervene. The finance manager said the company had lost almost all its old staff, salaries were owed, and benefits were gone. The company definitely wouldn't last 3 more months. That weekend, I dressed up a bit to meet Sarah and her father. My marriage to Michael had long been dead. To say I didn't wish for a companion would be a lie, but the past hurts had left me unable to love. I was afraid of pouring my heart out only to be disappointed in the end. The meeting place was a lakeside restaurant. I arrived an hour early and sat outdoors drinking coffee. I felt nervous because the last time I met Sarah's father, he was a calm, quiet man. I didn't think he would do things like investigate Michael and then tell me. As I was thinking, my phone rang. Sarah called. "Auntie, I'll be a bit late. If you're busy, we can do it another time." "It's fine." My dad arrived early. Ethan came to see my dad but was turned away, so he asked me for your birthday to guess your bank card password. I told him if he wanted to know, he had to pay 10,000 yuan for the information. Hearing this, I laughed. Suddenly, a warm, deep voice came from in front of me. "Excuse me, did I startle you?" Looking up, I saw a tall man with a warm smile. He said, "Hello, I'm Mr. Chen, Sarah's father." His smile disarmed me. My heart, which I thought had frozen, gently stirred. I began to think, perhaps after all the suffering, trying to love once more wouldn't be so bad. Even if it didn't lead anywhere, at least I would have a beautiful memory to look back on. After a moment of thought, I returned his smile. "Hello, I'm Helen.